Hello and happy holidays, everyone. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice, managing editor of Betting Pros and Fantasy Pros. And in just a minute, I'm going to run through my favorite week 16 player props, but not before I give you a chance to win something cool. So if you want the chance to win a signed Isaiah McKenzie Buffalo Bills mini helmet, courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted to when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. All right, we went 7-1 last week. We are 22-7 over the past 4 weeks. That's what we call a heater, boys and girls. We're now 65-40 on the season. That's a 61.9% winning percentage. I do not want to blow my own horn, but all right, that's it. Enough of that. Gambler, the god of wagering, does not look kindly upon braggadocio. So I'm just going to shut up and get to the week 16 picks. All odds are courtesy of DraftKings as of Thursday afternoon. So let's start with Aaron Rodgers, under 251.5 passing yards on Christmas Day. Rodgers is averaging just 220.9 passing yards per game this season, and he has cleared this number in only 2 games out of 14 this year. He's averaging 6.8 yards per pass attempt. That is the second lowest mark in his 15 years as the Packers starter. Yes, Rodgers is facing a Miami defense that's giving up 288.4 passing yards a game and a league high 8.3 yards per pass attempt. But even with the emergence of rookie wide receiver Christian Watson as a playmaker, the Green Bay passing game just simply does not have the quick strike capability it used to have before they traded Devontae Adams to the Raiders in the offseason. So I think this is going to be a leisurely paced game, with the Packers ranking 30th in offensive pace and the Dolphins ranking 17th. And fewer offensive plays, a slower pace means fewer offensive plays than usual. And that's a small but important edge for the people betting player props. So I would lean towards some of the unders in Packers Dolphins because of the pace of play. All right, Andy Dalton, under 151.5 passing yards. This has very little to do with Andy Dalton being a backup caliber quarterback, and very little to do with the rejuvenated Browns offense, which is actually second in DVOA against the pass since week 11. Browns defense was getting smoked earlier in the year, but they have really tightened things up. This is mostly about weather conditions in Cleveland on Saturday, which are going to be ugly to say the least. The temperature is going to hover around 13 degrees. They are expecting winds, sustained winds of 25 to 35 miles an hour, gusting up to 50 miles an hour. Those are not great passing conditions. There's also a chance of snow, by the way. Not great passing conditions. We're not going to see a lot of passing in Saints Browns because of the fierce winds. In fact, I suspect that the Saints are going to run a lot of the Wildcats, with Taysom Hill operating at quarterback and mostly running out of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like fewer than 20, maybe even fewer than 15 passing attempts for Andy Dalton. If this passing yardage prop were even 20 yards lower at 131.5, I would still bet the under on it. All right, Josh Allen, over 48.5 rushing yards, and much like the under on Andy Dalton passing yardage, this is weather related. Bills Bears is going to be played in some inhospitable weather conditions in Chicago. The forecast 11 degrees with winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour. Passing conditions suboptimal. And I would expect Allen to do quite a bit of running. He runs quite a bit anyway. He has topped this number in 4 of his last 7 games, and Allen ran for 77 yards last week in Buffalo in wintry conditions. Those conditions weren't even as bad as these conditions are going to be. So Allen is also going to be up against a Chicago Bears defense that has faced the most rushing attempts by opposing quarterbacks this season, 88, and has given up the 8th most rushing yardage to quarterbacks, 331 yards. So Josh Allen, I think, goes soaring over 48.5 rushing yards. Isiah Pacheco, over 68.5 rushing yards. Pacheco has topped this number in 5 of his last 6 games, dating back to week 10. Over that period, he has averaged 15.8 carries and 80 rushing yards a game. The Chiefs' rookie running back is going to be facing a Seattle defense that has just been getting steamrolled in the running game lately. The Seahawks have given up an average of 201.6 rushing yards over their last 5 games, allowing no fewer than 161 rushing yards in any game over that stretch. And yes, weather is probably going to be a factor here too. It's going to be frigid in Kansas City, temperatures in the upper teens. I think the Chiefs might be a little bit run heavier than usual, which bodes well for Pacheco. All right, I'm going to get to the rest of my picks in just a moment. But first, do you want to track all of your wagers in one place? Check out the Betting Pros Pick Tracker at bettingpros.com/pick-tracking. It syncs up with your sports books to tally which picks hit and which picks miss. And it gives you a live look at what the public is doing so you can use real-time tracking to determine which plays to make and which to fade. Get on the leaderboard and quickly become a sharp by using the free advice we have to offer at bettingpros.com/pick-tracking. Okay, continuing on with more player props. Joe Mixon under 60.5 rushing yards. Over the first 5 games of the season, Mixon averaged 19.2 carries a game. He was used in bell cow type fashion, but over the 7 games that Mixon has played since, he's averaged just 12.4 carries a game. The Bengals are using veteran backup Samaje Perine quite a bit lately. He's cutting into Mixon's workload, and Mixon has cleared this number in only 2 of his last 6 games. He's had fewer than 28 rushing yards in 3 of his last 5. Now, the Bengals face the Patriots, who have given up 81.2 rushing yards per game to running backs. That's the 7th lowest total in the league. I think Joe Mixon finishes with under 60.5 rushing yards. Brian Robinson, under 43.5 rushing yards. Robinson has actually averaged 18.4 carries and 86.6 rushing yards over his last 5 games. He's been trending up. So why do I like the under here? Well, he's got a week 16 road game against the 49ers that does not set up well for him at all. San Francisco's airtight run defense is giving up a league low 57.4 rushing yards per game and just 3.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. The Commanders are 7-point underdogs in this one, so they might not have a run-friendly game script if, in fact, they do fall behind in this one. Brian Robinson, under 43.5 rushing yards. Tyler Allgeier, under 56.5 rushing yards. Allgeier's yardage total for this one is certainly being inflated by his 139-yard rushing day against the Saints last week. The rookie from BYU had run for fewer than 56 yards in each of his previous 4 games before the outbreak against the Saints last week. And Allgeier shares rushing duties with Cordero Patterson. It's a split backfield. And we're also going to see rookie quarterback Desmond Ridder do quite a bit of running himself. But this is mainly about matchup. The Falcons are facing a vicious Raiders run defense this weekend. Yes, the Browns did manage to run for 143 yards against the Ravens last week. But prior to that, in Baltimore's previous 6 games, the Ravens held their opponents under 100 rushing yards every game. And they held their opponents under 50 rushing yards in 4 of those 6 games. So the Ravens' run D is really tough. Tyler Allgeier finishes with under 56.5 rushing yards. Now, here's my favorite player prop of the week. Travis Kelce over 75.5 yards. Yes, this seems like low-hanging fruit. Kelce is averaging 81.7 receiving yards per game this season. He has topped this number in 8 of 14 games. And his matchup, chef's kiss. The Seattle defense is giving up, they just gave up 93 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns to George Kittle in week 14. And the Seahawks are giving up 61.2 yards per game and 14.5 yards per catch to tight ends. They just allow so many big plays by opposing tight ends. Expect the very best tight end in the game to cruise past this insultingly low yardage prop. 75.5 receiving yards. Travis Kelce is going to go soaring over that. George Kittle, under 44.5 receiving yards. Yes, the aforementioned George Kittle. He racked up 93 yards against Seattle last week, but he's not facing Seattle this week. He is facing Washington, and the Commanders are allowing a league low 30.4 receiving yards per game to tight ends, and they rank third in DVOA against tight ends. Kittle has cleared this number in only 2 of his last 7 games, and here's the thing. Commanders edge rusher Chase Young is making his 2022 debut, coming back from a torn ACL. That gives the Commanders the fierce edge rushing duo of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers asked George Kittle to stay in and block a little more than usual. He maybe runs fewer routes than he's been running, and that maybe helps push him towards the under here. George Kittle under 44.5 rushing yards. And finally, Jaylen Waddle over 63.5 receiving yards. Waddle has topped this number, 63.5, in 10 of his 14 games, and he's coming off a 114-yard outing against the Bills last week. Waddle leads the league in yards per catch, 18.0 yards per catch, and 11.1 yards per target. He's been uber efficient this year, so he might not need that many targets to clear this modest number against the Packers. All right, just to recap this week's picks. Aaron Rodgers, under 251.5 passing yards. Andy Dalton, under 151.5 passing yards. Josh Allen, over 48.5 rushing yards. Isiah Pacheco, over 68.5 rushing yards. Joe Mixon, under 60.5 rushing yards. Brian Robinson, under 43.5 rushing yards. Tyler Allgeier, under 56.5 rushing yards. Travis Kelce, over 75.5 receiving yards. George Kittle, under 44.5 receiving yards. And Jaylen Waddle, over 63.5 receiving yards. Happy holidays to all of you out there from all of us at Betting Pros. Hope you have a joyous and festive weekend, and be careful on those snowy roads, my friends. We'll be back again next week with more player props. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.